Hello, my beautiful rainbow people. Welcome back to the Pot Smokers Bible program. This is my, we'll call it a controversy Zion program. I'm doing this on the fly because I just decided that we need, I need to do an episode where I can lay out my plan for reforming the police so that you guys can have an alternative to your bickering over reform and defund. So, let me tell you my alternative. It's called a police force, as in Please. Please. Okay? The difference, the first thing that we have to do is take the cops off the street. We do not to be overseen in every moment of our lives, in everything that we do, so that you can be paid to trap us at every little tiny mistake we do. So, the dispatch unit, as we know it, functions as the go-between between the public and the police force. If there is a problem, you call the police force. The dispatcher answers the phone and says, "Hello, 911, how can I help you?" I have this problem. Okay, she has competent professionals in every category that the police now oversee. They have consummate medical practitioners who are professionals in mental care. If you call the police force and say, "My daughter is having a nervous breakdown, she is throwing shit all over the place and threatening suicide," you don't see a guy with a gun to a suicidal teenager. You send a mental professional to deal with their mental problem, not a cop. Okay? Now, if you call 911, you say you need an ambulance, they're going to send you an ambulance. They already got that set up. So we already have this basic dispatch set up as a 911. So instead of having three options to 911, police, fire, and medical, we expand that. We take the police apart. We leave the police as they are in the capacity that they were intended for. The strong man, the man who stops violence. So if you call 911 and say, "Somebody's got a gun, they're trying to kill me," the cops go. That's their job. They're trained for that. That's their specialty. So you don't defund the police. You expand 911. You take away from the police the dysfunctional, unqualified parts of their job that they've been struggling so hard to take care of and can't because they're not qualified. Now, in the event that there are more than one things going on in a 911 call, like the teenager's going crazy, somebody's been hurt, and she's got a gun. Now you send a mental professional, you send a health professional, and you send a cop. Now they're all waiting on their shift like a fireman. They're all at their precincts, wherever their precincts are. It's like the medical doctor is the ambulance guy, okay? But we also add to that a mental health professional. Why don't we have them? We need them. They're essential, okay? Now, if some this way, we address every 911 call in the manner that it needs to be addressed in. If we have to send more than one person, we send a whole unit. But the point is, we don't have people driving around in cars looking for problems. That's not their job. Their job is to be there on call in the neighborhood close at hand when something occurs. Point blank, period. It's wasting money. It's wasting resources. It's killing our planet. It's killing our blacks. It's killing our country. So, 911 becomes the the end all be all dispatch of all emergency services. The police don't cease to exist. They just function as they were intended to function, only as the strongman who takes care of violent responses. Nothing more, nothing less. You get a professional team of medical professionals, medical professionals, to deal with all mental issues. And most of the problems being dealt with by the police are mental in one short shape or another. We go through all of the books of the uh, legislatures of the states, and we do away with all unconstitutional laws that give the police the right and reason to entrap us. Because that part has got to go. That is the true problem of the police. They think that their job is to seek out each and every individual that breaks the law and violently force them into the court system so that they can pay for their sins. That's all it is. It's a fucking game. And the game's got to stop. Time for America to grow up and act like adults. Because the Democrats and the Republicans are nothing more than siblings rivaling over mommy's and daddy's affection. And that would be the American people. Time to grow up. Get the police off the streets where they do not belong and make a true police force whose job it is to arbitrate. And that was another unit, that was the other unit that I was trying to work in there. We need a unit of arbitrators, people who are qualified and capable of resolving disputes, so that if two neighbors are fighting over their land rights, the arbitrators are sent, not the cops, because the cops don't know how to arbitrate. All they know how to do is arrest, imprison. That's all they do. That's all they're meant to do. That's all they're qualified to do. So we have a qualified arbitrator, a roaming judge, so to speak, who knows the law, who knows humanity well enough to understand how to interpret the law in a just fashion, so that he can interpret the law on hand, dissolve disputes between individuals, and therefore resolve issues that don't need to be, they don't need guns. If your neighbors are bitching about tree limbs over the fence line, you don't need a gun. You need a judge. So you have an arbitrator, a judge. So we have a fireman, fire department. We have an emergency response medical unit. We have emergency response mental medical unit. We have the police, and we have the arbitration unit to judge between disputes. All of these services can be had by 911. Now, with all of this instituted easily, just by adding a few by deburdening the police, taking off of their overburdened shoulders all of those things that they don't have the qualifications to deal with, like arbitration and mental issues. Let them do their true job, to be the strong arm to protect the weak, to protect those whose rights have been violated, who's had others break laws against them, and give them the help that they need so they can do their job right. Because if you have somebody who is violent and mentally ill and you send a cop and a psychiatrist, the psychiatrist is going to know how to calm down the psychopath, or is going to have the means and the availability and the license to administer a drug on site to calm them down. Now, imagine, Mr. Policeman, how many lives you could have saved if you had had a psychiatrist with their little bag with them with the medications necessary to deal with psychotic necrosis and all of the mental issues that you have to deal with on a daily basis. So get the cops off the street, let them be called when they're needed. Take the money that's already available within the system we have now, pay the psychiatrist, it's like elect new judges from the lawyers that we have who are qualified to be judges, and let them be roaming police judges, able to arbitrate silly disputes that usually end up in court and sometimes end up in violence. Now, if they need a cop with them, they can always have that cop with them. And maybe the cop should be there just in case, every time, to ensure that the psychiatrist is safe, and the arbitrator is safe, and the victim is safe, and the perpetrator is not safe. Okay? So, all of the money that we spend on the cop cars, on the gas, and on the petroleum can be converted into new vehicles to house the units. And if each unit has an arbitrator, a mental health professional, a cop, at the base at the least, and perhaps a medical professional in case there's a medical problem. But the thing is, don't force the policeman to do 3 different jobs that when he's only qualified for one. Because that job he does very well. There's no better person to call in a violent situation than a cop, if that cop is not a white supremacist and trying to kill you if you're black. So we reform the police by reducing their workload to manageable, well-trained, one specific job, not 3. Okay? We give him the means to do that job in a way that will not overburden society with always having to look over your shoulder to see if a cop's there. Because believe me, if somebody's driving drunk or too fast, we're going to call you. But if if there's no problem, why should you be there? So, let's just revamp 911, reduce the workload of the police to non-mental issues, non-arbitration issues. Let them do their job of protecting and serving the public, but give them the consummate partners to do the job right. Because not one person suffering not one person calling a cop is not in a mental state. If they called you, there's a problem. They're stressed. And if there's a psychiatrist there to deal with that stress, de-escalation, pure and simple. If there's a medical person there and there's a medical issue, bam, before the ambulance can get there, they can already have a doctor dealing with their issues. And the cop can be there to ensure that no violence is done, or that the violence is ended, and that people are protected. That is their job. So may the great watch over us, guide us, protect us, keep us from all harm, teach us right from wrong, and may you be worthy of them. May your thoughts, words, and deeds reflect truth, good light, the unicorn way. Find you joy and pursue it. Make that your real choice when we get to Camp Zion. Stay happy and high. If you use drugs, you have every right and reason to. Believe me, I know. Read 2 books about it. I am the Zion of the Most High God of Israel, the prophet foretold in the 54th chapter of the book of Isaiah. And I've come to set my people free. Come camping with me. I never say goodbye. Some will say later now.